Hey, I'm Guy. That's John. And it's time to talk about the 49ers quarterback situation. But before we do that, Middlecoff.
Subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel before we crush Nick Mullens. Do that right now.
Like the video. So, Nick Mullens throws 2 picks, throws an interception. Throws 2 picks. Loses a fumble. Sunday Night Football. CJ Beathard. What if CJ Beathard had come back and won that thing for him?
14 of 19, Guy, 138. He had a good outing.
Beathard threw 19 passes?
19 passes, 14 of 19.
How many did Mullins throw?
26. I don't even know how that's humanly possible, but with 5 minutes left in the game, he threw 19 passes.
Oh, my God.
Well, he led him on a full drive, right? And then he basically led him on another drive. And he got, I think the 2-pointer counts, so happened fast.
He threw a great, is it a Hail Mary from the 35? I mean, yeah, I guess it is, depending on, made a great throw into the end zone. But
you and I have been talking about this because social media has been talking about this, but I saw a tweet within the last couple weeks that said 80% of American adults are not on Twitter.
I saw that too.
I don't use Facebook at all, but the amount of human beings on Facebook relative to Twitter is not close. It's not a fair fight. It's like the ratings for the NFL relative to like hockey. Like it's night and day different. So the majority, I like it. You like it. We're in the media. The media loves it. Famous people like it, but like most normal people in America, not only don't tweet, they don't even consume it. And I think these things become on social media, and for us, not me and you as much. Definitely, you're better at it than me. I've learned, but I think the media just in general, networks and people have been conditioned now. Like the conversation on there is the real conversation. And I say all the time, well, I see all these conversations every day, just worldwide, just based on society that are just so angry. And then you just go out in society and everyone's like kind of happy. You're like, God, what the fuck? It's not a real world. So I always push back to go, if just the conversation starts on social media, does not mean the conversation is real. Now, Mullins, what was the stat on Sunday Night Football that through his first 9 games, no one had thrown more yards or touchdowns beside Mahomes, Andrew Luck, and Nick Mullens? Like he was on like rare company with stats. Yeah. And clearly he had a good game last week against the Giants, but even Kyle shot it down. You and I shot it down. Like, listen, if you've been watching football, the talent discrepancy between Jimmy Garoppolo and Nick Mullens, if you just watch them throw the football, I never really thought they had much in common.
Can I say something, though? Because you know me, I wholeheartedly agree with everything you said about Twitter. I do think the Mullins-Garoppolo conversation is one, if people were in the offices these days, like on a Monday, we'd roll in, and somebody from the sales department would be like, Mullins, is he going to be the guy? Just a casual sports take.
Okay,
right?
Okay. So let's rewind before that. I think the conversation about is Jimmy Garoppolo good enough is a real human conversation. The 80% not on Twitter that are all watching 49er stuff, football fans, like there is legit in the ethos of football consumers, the Jimmy Garoppolo conversation is 1,000,000% real. It's an undetermined. We don't know. It's still a work in progress. I understand both sides of the argument. I've waned a little bit, and it's just through 2.5 games. Like we've both like, I don't know. But to me, the Mullins thing, I agree. I think there'd be some casual like, this Mullins guy, fucking Giants, made some throws. But the conversation of like, would Mullins, Wally Pipp get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo? No. That was stupid. And that was a little, to me, social media driven, which in 2020, because most producers, executives don't know what they're doing, they just go like, and sometimes I'll be watching the local news and they use Twitter. It's like, what are we doing? And because they don't know, it's like, I get why they do it. It's easy, but it's not real. And to me, the Jimmy stuff is real. Is he good enough?
Yeah.
But I think those conversations, Guy, are going on with Jared Goff, with Dak Prescott. They're going on with fucking Carson Wentz, and they paid him. You know what Carson Wentz's dead cap next year is $60 million. I checked on like Thursday because I was like, is there a chance? I'm like, no, there's not.
You think he'll be on the team next year?
Yeah, dead cap, $60 million, a lock on the team. Cap going down too. So Carson Wentz, their starter.
He's going to be a third of their cap.
So these conversations about players are normal. Starting quarterback, right? Yeah. Wouldn't you agree our entire –
That's not what dead cap is.
our entire life, though, beside like the elite guy, there's always conversations about quarterbacks in college and the pros, right? Is this guy good enough? That's the number one conversation. It's usually coach or quarterback, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
But to me, the backup thing usually happens with loser franchises. I used to see it with all the Raiders all the time with like their quarterback. Hell, they're still going through it with Derek. It's like, I got news for you. Derek's probably not good enough. Like, listen, like the guy, was around him since high school. Derek's coming down the home stretch of his Raider career. Like, let's just call a spade right at this point. And with Mullins, but like Nick Mullens, Derek Carr. Yeah, Mullins can't hold Derek's jock. Like, Mullins is not in the conversation of starters in the NFL.
So
I mean, you saw a glimpse today.
Yeah.
Like, I started to go, got a CJ improved? Is CJ better than him?
Well, I don't know. I think that situation where you get to come in and just start zipping it around is a little different.
A little Folesy like last week, right?
Yeah. And I'm a Foles guy, but it's why I thought, even though I was just like, I don't know if it'll look the same this week for the Bears. It's a different animal when it's 0-0.
Should have hammered that home in my head. Next time.
It was. But, I think the question now for the 49ers is they're 2-2 through 4 games. And like you said earlier, and you're right, if you said you get 3 games with Nick Mullens, what happens? 2-1, you take it. Now they play Miami, then they play the Rams, then they play the Patriots, then they play the Seahawks, then they play the Packers, then they play the Saints, then they play the Rams again, then they play the Bills. So this week they play the Miami Dolphins. This, I would say, is a must-win game given what their schedule turns into. The only question I have now for a quarterback for the 49ers is, can Jimmy Garoppolo play or not? Because this week is not, well, let's hold him back and give him another week, in my mind. Now, we don't know exactly how healthy he is, but for the third week in a row, ankle guy standing on the sidelines the whole game. Dr. Middlecoff has said that's a good sign. I think that you're onto something.
Want me to quote Kyle? Kyle was asked tonight, is Jimmy availability for week 5?
Okay.
Not sure yet.
All right. Well, how I feel about this team is wholly dependent on whether or not Jimmy Garoppolo plays this week against the Miami Dolphins. Because like I said earlier, you saw what Ayuk only had 2 catches, but I think he clearly is immediately he's going to have an effect on the game because you see that you have to know where he is. They can still run the football. Kittle is a man-child. Debo is 100 miles an hour ready to go. Is Jimmy Garoppolo back or not? Because if he's not...
Because they are no lock to beat the Miami Dolphins with CJ Beathard or Nick Mullens.
They had a shootout with the Bills.
Yeah.
Played the
Who
Seahawks.
the Dolphins play today? They were right. They were coming down to the wire right until the end. They scored that touchdown.
Beat the crap out of the Jags.
You need Jimmy Garoppolo back. So if Jimmy's healthy, which it's weird. I assumed he was going to play this week. I don't feel great about it. Here's what I do feel better about. I don't believe in Nick Mullens. Like, I saw enough. Like, I don't want to watch Nick Mullens.
Well,
I got a hot take for it. I don't want to see Nick Mullens play again. If Jimmy Garoppolo can't play this week, CJ Beathard's the starting quarterback, I think, right? You don't make that move and then not go back to CJ, and especially with how he played.
No, but I just think either one of them. Now we are now week 5. We're talking about the playoffs now, right? Given what this schedule is going to look like, this guy's. Could you beat Miami without him? Yeah, you might. Yeah, you could. You should be better than them, right? They don't have Carson Wentz, but Fitzpatrick's no slouch. On a given day, he can put up incredible numbers. And I do think you'd love to see Jimmy get a game before this stretch starts afterwards. The other thing I wonder is, and Collinsworth brought it up late in the game, how many passes has CJ Beathard thrown to Brandon Ayuk? Now, he completed one. But then
he'd
they had
been
a miscommunication
hurt, right?
in the
and
end
he'd
zone.
been the third-string quarterback, so I'd say 0.
Now you could argue, I'll just throw it to Kittle. But I think you need him back.
Guy?
I think it
George blocked me on Twitter one time because I made fun of CJ.
We talked about that with George when he was on the podcast. Remember?
And he unblocked me. So yeah.
But I just think, how many games can you win without Jimmy? How many games can you play without Jimmy Garoppolo and be a playoff team? I think we are right up against that threshold right now.
Yeah, I think that threshold's over. I think he's either coming back and they're going to have a shot, which it's going to be tough. But we'll dive into the NFC West. The NFC is a little open. You know, the Bears are 3-1, but they play Thursday night against the Bucs. I think you see the Bucs are not a perfect team, and they're banged up. I think O.J. Howard got hurt. The NFC East is just going to get one team, right? I think we know that. So it's just you kind of just at least you go, well, it's our division. We get to play these teams 5 more times. The Niners do control a lot of their own destiny, and they play the Saints. They play the Packers. So it's for these games. I don't talk about those games in CJ Beathard and Nick Mullens. Like you roll CJ Beathard out against the Packers. Like, I'm sorry. You rolled Nick Mullens or CJ Beathard out against the Rams. Like, I'm not having a real conversation with you. Like, I'm going to pick them to lose. Jimmy's back. Fucking okay. It's on now. Now then Jimmy's got to play well. We're just at the point he's back. You're right. He probably needs to get a game under him and hopefully a win just to go to now the Rams team that played today. But we know, like, when the Rams and Niners play on Sunday night in 2 weeks, that won't be like, oh, just team going through the motions. Like that ain't going to be a 1 o'clock kickoff against the Giants with no fans energy. Even though there'll be no fans at Levi's, it'll be energy like it's on, right? Because the Rams are going to look, because it's easy for McVay. Hey, guys, these guys were a big part of the reason we didn't make the playoffs last year. These guys won the division. Like, I think the Rams will be really up for that game.
Yeah, I don't even think he needs to say that, right? I mean, I think as good as
Am I getting crazy? Is that game? I know Seattle's the rivalry, but I'm kind of fired up for that thing to kind of take off. The Rams,
big
Niners?
picture, or just October 18th?
No, big picture. Kyle McVay, their teams are solid and physical and good. Like, I want that fucking game to matter.
It's the beauty of being like a Steelers fan, right? Is that you get 6 games a year that are just going to be fantastic. Like, you're gonna love it. Just that when you have a team in a division where you just know they play big games. Like, I think that's part of it, is you get the Kyle McVay. But I also think it's good I won't dive into the division yet. This is about the quarterbacks. I'll if you tell me Jimmy's not starting against Miami, I don't know what would the early line be on Niners hosting the Dolphins without Garoppolo? 49ers -4? 6?
Yeah, 5.5, 6.
What did this game get to? 7.5? 8?
No, guy, it was 9, and then I think came back to 8.5 by kickoff. Yeah.
Wow.
Here's what I forgot, and I tried to, and we both did, temper the Mullins hype. Like, guys, there's a backup quarterback, undrafted free agent. Everyone needs to pump the brakes. And just when you watch him play, the way the ball came out of his hand, like, are we watching the same deal? I did think, though, not that he was incapable of, but I didn't picture this disaster. Like, it's one thing to, like, try to keep plays alive, throw a pick. Guy, he's throwing picks to guys staring him in the face with their hands looking at him and pick sixes. Well, and the pick he threw in the end zone, no one's even around. Yeah. And as someone from the Niners, let me rephrase that, a scouting buddy said, and now it's probably fair. Yeah, well, I mean, just he probably is running this shit in walkthroughs. A big reason I think you see bad picks in the NFL is because in a walkthrough, when you trust your offensive coordinator, it's there. So you just get conditioned, bang, bang, boom, right? And bang, bang, boom, oh, and he knows it right away. And a good quarterback like Rodgers or Manning or Brady or Russell, Mahomes, like, a walkthrough look doesn't kill them because they can pivot when it's not there right away, right? It's not always going to be easy. Like, if I take you to the classroom as an MBA student at fucking Cal Business School, and I tell you, this is what's going to happen in the pitch meeting, this is how the supply charts, and then you get in the pitch meeting and it goes haywire, the best salesman can pivot. Like, the best quarterbacks can pivot. Mullins, there is not much pivot ability, right? Even Wentz, you saw tonight, like, he can make some shit that's not there. Well, Mullins can't.
To me, the first Mullins interception is the one I expected. Right, the one where he's.
But to me, that's a bad pick. Yeah.
Yeah. The second one, you're right. It's like, whoa, I thought the floor was not that. Right, not rookie quarterback throw. But you're right. I mean, I not to make an excuse
that's as
here.
Awful of a pick as you can see.
No, I know.
Would you agree there?
Yes, and I don't want to make an excuse. I don't know. I don't even have the first idea of what it's like to play quarterback in the NFL. Clearly, there are things that are obvious to people on television that are not obvious when you're looking through the mask. Right. Like, that's a given. But that's one of those where everyone goes, yeah, I know that's a given, but holy hell, what in the world? How does that happen?
I think when you say mask, for people that are not watching on video, mask, he means like an Oculus or something.
Yeah. I mean the face mask, not the.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get a lollipop for this one, Al. My ears hurt, Chris. I thought they weren't doing the game through the mask, but like Kanye, they were going through the wire the whole time.
Are you sure they don't pull it down?
Well, I assume they did, but then they sounded the same when it was covering when it's not. I mean, you're right. They probably did pull it down, and then they just put them on just to be like Exhibit A during the defense. We have evidence that they had it on. You know, we can let them leave the state, or I guess Al can go back to L.A. But anyway, yeah. I mean, if Jimmy doesn't play this week, do you expect CJ Beathard then would be the next man up?
I would
think so.
Stunned if Nick Mullens. When have you ever seen a quarterback? It's one thing if the game's out of hand, but technically it was 11-point game, 5 minutes left. They had all 3 timeouts. The game was kind of over, but then immediately it kind of wasn't. He benched him. Like that was kind of like get this guy out of my offense. Like this, no.
Well, did you see? You know, I like how they do the halftime. Michelle talks to Kyle, and then it says at the bottom of the screen what Kyle says. And a lot of times it's like, we got to play harder. But it said Nick Mullens needs to settle down, right? Like he was critical of Nick at halftime. And obviously
there was
thrown a pick.
There was one on, I think, on a sack. Yes, sack. And you can't now with Kyle, he doesn't want to get fined $100,000 ever again. You can't see what he's saying, but emotions like throw if the screen's blown up, throw it at his feet. Like I can't have you taking a fucking sack here, Nick. And he did the motion like throw it into the ground. I can't even imagine. The mask probably did Kyle a favor tonight. He had to be fuming because clearly there are things that he spends all week scheming things up, and Nick, for the most part, is kind of screwing the pooch on his offense, and the offense is his baby.
The first 2 throws of the game he missed. That's why I tweeted after the first series, Kyle was 3 for 3 on that drive. Juszczyk, I didn't get a second look. Was guy, wide open. I'll wait for the all 22, but
I saw that like Next Gen Stats does like the the little circles when they're all moving.
Yeah.
And he's picking up 35 to 50 yards. And you know him, even when the DB first makes contact, he's getting an extra 5. That was, I would imagine Kyle wanted to strangle him because clearly early in a scheme or early in a game, Kyle's first 10 plays or whatever he has scripted, I think he always feels like in the first couple plays, he's got a big play. If you guys do it, and remember, Kittle told us, he's like, it's crazy. He will say do this, and then if you do that, it works. And clearly, I think they saw something in a run, like you just run this guy off, and this guy will bite. That will work. And Mullins, I mean, guy, again, as Doug Peterson said, I think last week, there are no layup throws in the NFL. I would agree. But that's as close to a layup throw as you're going to get because he wasn't even pressured, right? It was just, I think he saw him and he kind of freaked and he was clearly amped. I think here's one, I'm going to end on this. There is something to be said, fans or not, and maybe in golf it's a little different because there aren't fans there. In the majors, these guys have been pretty good. But I do think in golf you just kind of get into a rhythm as you play. In football, it's like you just come out, it's Sunday night football or Monday night football. And you argued about Laureano on Twitter about the he doesn't know how many people watching. I agreed. Like when he was getting interviewed, these baseball players, baseball, that's not even in their vernacular. How many people ratings and stuff for baseball players. In football, though, the primetime games, I think it's pretty clear at this point in time, like how big the games are, correct? Like how big a deal it is to be on Sunday night football.
Yeah. Yep. And the other thing, if you're Mullins, you might be thinking this is my last start of the year, right? That's the other thing you might be thinking going into the game.
Or a guy, like I'm a free agent at the end of this year. I play well. I'm going to get some cash.
Yeah.
You think he lost money tonight?
Nah, I don't know how much he was going to make.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like maybe someone gave him like $2 or $3 million.
Yeah, if he had thrown, I think 2 touchdowns, no picks, and for $289, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, like he's a vet minimum guy. That's who he is, correct?
Yeah,
he's just a minimum salary player.